Hi and welcome. I'm Julie Thompson. I'm the guest host of the new show, Healthy Kingston. In our first episode tonight, we're going to interview for the first time Arthur Boyle, who is the new health agent for the Town of Kingston. Welcome, Arthur.
Thanks, Julie. It's nice to be here.
Nice to have you. Talk to me about what is your background and how did you end up in Kingston as the health agent?
Well, I came to Kingston just a few short weeks ago, and I came from Holbrook, where I was the health agent for the last 6 or 7 years in Holbrook. And it was a good opportunity and time for a change. And Kingston's a wonderful town, and I live in the next town over. I'm from Pembroke, so I changed my commute by about two-thirds. Much better commute.
Yep.
And they treated me very well in inviting me to come to Kingston. And interestingly enough, I had the opportunity to be working for the community for about 3 minutes, without exaggeration, and get called into a chemical spill.
A chemical spill, your first day on the job, your first minutes on the job.
I still had my briefcase in my hand when they notified me, so I hadn't even sat down yet.
Oh, that's so funny. So you fire right away. Tell us about what you do in the role of health agent, because a lot of people don't understand what that
Well, the health
entails.
agent is multifaceted. There's a number of things. You're the voice between the community and the Board of Health in many cases. You're in charge of approving septic systems and getting approvals on soil conditions and so forth. You're also involved with emergency preparedness. We have an excellent, I'm finding out, Kingston Fire Department and Police Department, and they don't need me to reinvent the wheel. You just become part of the machine, and I think that's going to be very fun and interesting to be involved with two really very professional departments.
Right. So anytime anyone sells or buys a house, that you have to be involved in the inspection of the septic, correct?
Well, we're involved to the degree that they have an inspector, a private inspector, come and do it, and they either pass it or fail it. And they bring it to us to approve, any passing and to examine any failure, what it might cost or what it might involve to get the system up to code. But in most cases, if you've got a 50-year-old house or a 100-year-old house, and you've got an old cesspool system, and that kind of thing, you can look forward to adding a septic system to your cost.
Well, quite a bit of money,
But people are good about maintaining them. People have noticed over the last 25 or 30 years that if you take care of the system and you pump it regularly, that you will get a long life out of it, and it will give you a return when you become ready to downsize in the case of older folks like me.
Sure, and me. And what is your number one priority right out of the gate? What are some of the things you're working on?
Well, Healthy Kingston is one of the things that we're working on in the show.
Right.
And Janet Wade, who is the newest member of the Board of Health, came up with the idea and really has put the concept, has put the wheels on it, if you will. And it's going to be an exciting thing to be involved in, because we're going to have information on ticks and Triple E and West Nile virus. We've already had an alert go out to the community several weeks ago that there was a dead mosquito found in the north quadrant, they'll call it, of Kingston.
With West Nile.
With West Nile. And, it's uncomfortable, but people should know that it's important to be aware of it. And if you've got the little wading pools, the little blue plastic pool that your grandchild is playing in, empty it out. It seems like a waste of water, but it's really not.
Because they love still water, right?
They
breed.
love still water, and even old tires in the back of the garage, that kind of thing, where you've got standing water, you've got the makings for
a breeding ground.
A breeding ground, is right.
Right. Well, that you've got your work cut out for you. You're going into a winter season. We're supposed to have a crazy winter season.
Is there any other kind?
No, not around here, not in New England. And I'm sure we'll have you back on the show a number of times, Janet will, as the health agent for Kingston.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I really want to congratulate Janet for taking the initiative to do this program. And I think it's going to be important. The seniors are going to get something out of it. Students will get something out of it. Children will get something out of it, as will parents. So
excellent.
It's a great outreach idea, and I applaud her for it.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you, Arthur.
Thanks, Julie.
Welcome back again. I'm Julie Thompson, the guest host for the very first episode of Healthy Kingston, which is the brainchild of Dr. Janet Wade. Welcome, Dr. Wade.
Thank you. It's
Or I'll
wonderful
call
to
you
be here.
Janet.
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Now, Janet Wade, you are a Kingston resident.
I am.
And you are a educator, you're a nurse, you're someone who is passionate about health. So talk to me about your background and what made you launch Healthy Kingston.
Well, I have a 30-year background in community health, and particularly community health nursing.
Yep.
And I had worked in hospitals for a number of years and saw that there were so many people that really had no business being there had they known how to take better care of themselves. So quite a few years ago, I did a paradigm shift and went back to school and decided to emphasize health promotion and wellness as a registered nurse and a community health nurse. So when I was running for the Board of Health, I decided to run on a platform of health promotion and wellness, and that I would like to enhance the community with some educational opportunities and trainings, programs, so that people would feel even more comfortable about their health, how they're raising their children, how they're spending their senior years, what they can do to just have a happy and better quality of life.
Right, and the whole old adage, if you have your health, you have everything.
Absolutely.
Is so true, and anyone who has not had their health can attest to that it affects every aspect of your life. If you have an illness, whether it's a temporary illness or a permanent one, it's devastating to families usually. And like you said, there's a lot of times that people end up in the ER, in the hospital, that it could have been prevented.
Absolutely.
And it could be prevented a lot of times by lifestyle.
Right.
Okay. So today, in today's episode, you wanted to focus on 3 specific areas to talk about. First being it's back to school time, and children going back to school need to be talked about in terms of how they eat and their sleep and their exercise. So we'll go into all those. And then we're also going to talk about suicide prevention, because September is
Suicide Prevention Month nationally.
Yeah,
Yes.
nationally, yeah. And we're also going to end the show with talking about emergency preparedness, because September is also Emergency Preparedness Month, which I don't think a lot of people knew that.
Right.
You think it's kind of early to be in September.
It is, but we have those nor'easters coming and
Yeah, we do.
those heavy snowstorms, so it's always good to be prepared.
Right. So let's start with kids. It's good time. Kids are back to school.
Right.
What are the 3 biggest issues that we need to be aware of and help our children with?
Sure. Well, as we all know, healthy kids make good students.
Yep.
And as a mom of 4 adult children and 4 grandchildren, I realize how important it is. The big 3, as you had mentioned: sufficient sleep, a balanced diet, and plenty of physical activity. So those are 3 areas that I'd like to focus on for the next couple of minutes. As the Centers for Disease Control mentions, and the National Pediatric Association, Parents Magazine, you'll find it everywhere. The children who get sufficient sleep, eat properly, and get sufficient exercise are better students in school. They have less sick time at school. They're far more disciplined. So wonderful areas, wonderful reasons to focus on these 3 areas in raising your child. And realizing that in focusing on sleep, nutrition, and activity, you're not taking time away from your child's academic pursuits. Actually, you are adding to their academic success by doing these things.
Right. Now, talk to me about the length of time that is recommended for sleep.
Well,
because this like blew my mind. I'm like, nobody gets this much sleep.
Right. This is very interesting, and I think is a wake-up call for all of us. Toddlers, 1 to 2 years, should be getting 11 to 14 hours of sleep a night. Preschoolers, 10 to 13 hours, and typically those don't seem to be issues.
Yeah.
But school-age children should actually be getting 9 to 11 hours of sleep at night, and teenagers, believe it or not, 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night.
Yeah.
As far as sleep, and this is information we all know, it's just, it doesn't hurt to hear it every once in a while, is that in trying to produce good quality of sleep, it's important that really all of us, not just our children and our teens, have consistent affirmation, consistent habits. They go to bed pretty much at the same time.
That's,
That there are rituals that go on, be it reading, be it, sitting down and having snuggle time, talk time, listening to music. But that rituals start about an hour before they're actually going to go to sleep.
Because their minds have to slow down too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
all of our
they can't
minds
go
have
from
to
watching
slow
an
down.
action movie right to expect to fall asleep.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned that because electronics should be taken off the table a minimum of an hour before really any of us go to sleep. And that's computers, videos, television,
and
whatever
it's even the
it might
light
be.
that your eyes are seeing it affects when you go to sleep.
Absolutely. And also keeping in mind what they're eating for dinner and shouldn't be eating a lot of sugary snacks and foods like all of us after dinner that can prohibit their sleep. So we talk about sleep. The next thing is nutrition.
Which is huge.
Absolutely.
And is such an issue.
It is,
with
majorly.
children.
So some tips, balanced breakfast. We've all heard it's the most important meal of the day. It is, but emphasizing protein in that breakfast. Protein being anything from Greek yogurt to eggs in any forms, be they fried, be they boiled, be they in an egg salad. Meat, but putting some type of protein that's going to stay with them throughout the morning until they have lunch. Making meal times a priority. Again, we're all busy. I've been a working mom. My daughters are working moms. I know the time is limited, but it is so important to fit in time for meals together, particularly in the evening, where we can all sit down, discuss the day, and have hopefully a well-balanced meal together. It sets a wonderful tone.
And a lot of parents find that so difficult, the mealtime at night, because so many kids are involved in after-school activities, and parents have different working schedules. And you're right, it's a super important thing to at least do one meal a day if you can together. And even if it means that you eat a little bit later. Having that time together, and again, the rituals, like the ritual of sleep, it becomes a habit, and it's helpful.
Absolutely. And certainly if people are saying, you've got to be kidding, I can't do this. Weekends, absolutely. You can work out something.
Absolutely.
You can work out something. Getting your kids involved with nutrition. That can be anything from the list, your shop grocery list, going with you to the grocery store and picking out not the sugary cereal, but the healthy fruits and vegetables, but having them go with you. At home, having them help prepare the meal, serve the meal. That gets them engaged in the whole process, and a wonderful way to emphasize the different food groups and the importance of having balanced meals.
And your next one's cute, making your shift to more healthy, making smaller shifts to healthier foods. Because you can't all of a sudden at once say, okay, we're going to get rid of all the junk that we have in this kitchen. One thing at a time, and introduce new things one at a time.
One at a time. For example, and it can be very, very subtle, and they'll probably be doing it and then realize after the fact that you're doing it. But going from whole milk to low-fat milk, going from fried potato chips to baked potato chips, going from soda to sparkling water or seltzer water. Do you know, Julie, that the average child should have no more than 3 teaspoons of sugar a day? A can of soda has 10 teaspoons of sugar in it. So,
and the diet sodas actually taste good now.
Well, they do. They do.
So
then
you
you get a whole issue with aspartame.
I know.
Which personally makes me very hyper. But anyway, so suddenly making these changes, white bread to wheat bread. So it's very subtle, but it works. And ice cream going to fruit smoothies.
So, and fat too. So be aware of the fats. The fats and the sugar content and the salt.
And the salt. And fats going from solid fats, using solid fats like butter and margarine, to using things more like olive oil. Unsaturated fats is helpful.
And your final shift was making fruits and vegetables more appealing. And you can do that by making little faces with them and adding things to them, and maybe a little bit of sour cream or something else on them to make them look prettier.
Absolutely. Putting cinnamon on them. Also, having them readily accessible, having a bowl of fruit on the counter, cutting up fruit and keeping it in a bowl in the refrigerator. So this stuff is easily accessible.
Just reach in and grab those grapes instead of grabbing candy.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
other nutrition measures caregivers, not just parents, grandparents, babysitters can introduce is being a good role model.
Yep.
That it's important that we all act as role models for our children.
Yeah.
They'll never say anything, but they do watch what we do.
Right, and if we
they
eat
do
standing up
mimic it.
at the counter all the time, they're going to think that's the norm.
Exactly.
That's how you eat, standing up at the counter. Yep.
Right. So it's important that we eat healthy, that we sit down and eat, that we take our time eating, so that they in turn will pick up those habits.
Yep.
And to start this when they're very young, from toddlerhood on up, healthy snacks, sitting down for meals, this type of thing.
And not forcing them to eat too.
No.
Remember the days where you could not leave the table until you're completely
your
done?
plate was complete, yes.
That
And they're
doesn't-
realizing now
that
that
doesn't work.
that is not the advantageous way to
Right,
go. That
right.
when kids are finished, they're finished. Don't force them to eat.
Yep.
That's where you get into control issues. And don't make food a reason. Don't make it a discipline.
And don't make it a
Don't make it a
prize.
reward.
Right,
No,
exactly.
No, keep
Yeah,
it off
yeah.
the table.
Yep.
Because then it just becomes a power struggle between you and your child. And when
Yep.
they get hungry, they will eat.
Yep.
Put limits on their screen time.
Yep.
For many reasons. We talked about the sleep, but also we don't want them eating while they're watching television
Right.
or on the computer.
Right.
Because it's empty eating.
Yep.
They don't even realize that
they're
they're
doing it,
eating.
right.
So we don't give them snacks or food when they're in front of the TV or
Yep.
the computer.
Yep.
And set snack boundaries.
Yep.
Don't give them a bag of cookies or a bag of potato chips.
Give them 3.
Give them right. Give them portions.
3
portion
potato chips
control
for you. Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
A small bowl of potato chips,
Yep.
2 cookies.
Yep.
They sit at the table and they eat it.
Yep. Perfect.
And this definitely helps with portion control.
Right.
And this is where you help to prevent overweight children.
Okay. Let's talk about activity. Speaking of overweight children.
Well, we all know the importance of activity.
Yeah.
This is so. I used to tell my kids when they got home from school, go run your crazies out.
Yeah.
Just let them be kids.
Yeah.
Run around in the backyard.
Yeah.
Go to the park.
Yep.
Ride their bicycles around the neighborhood.
Yeah. Or a lot of them are in sports or dance
in
or
sport,
gymnastics
absolutely.
or
Sports,
swimming
dance,
or whatever. Right.
All of those
Yeah.
things where they're using their muscles,
Yep.
they're strengthening their bones,
Yep.
and they're having aerobic activity.
Yep.
They're getting their heart pumping.
Yep. And a lot of houses too now have treadmills and things like that where if they can't go outside, they can always jump on the treadmill
Right,
for 5 minutes
particularly
or 10
as
minutes.
right,
Yeah.
particularly as preface that as being more teenagers.
Yep.
You've monitored them. You
Sure.
know they're not going to get hurt on it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So basically, yeah. So that's the summary for. Just gave you all the big secret to a good student.
Yeah.
Well, obviously they've got to do their homework.
Yeah.
But the fact that they get sufficient sleep, well-balanced diet, and they get enough activity.
Right. And the one other thing about the activity too is a strong student, physically strong student, is going to be a little bit more mentally tough. They can carry their big backpacks around. They don't
Absolutely.
get sick as often. I mean, it all feeds into, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you do all
Absolutely.
3, you're going to have a much better chance at being a successful student. Yeah.
Exactly. And a successful person,
That's right,
period.
overall in life.
These are lifestyle habits you'll
Habits.
have your entire
Yep.
life.
Okay, so our next very important discussion is about suicide prevention.
Yes.
So-
September is Suicide Prevention Month,
Yep.
as we are probably all pretty aware of at this point. Suicide has become a national epidemic in this
Yes.
country.
Yep.
What brought it to a light this summer were the suicides of Kate Spade
Yeah.
and Anthony Beaudoin.
Yeah.
And I have to say, personally, I know of 3 people who had suicide ideations. 2 of them, fortunately, did seek help and were hospitalized. Unfortunately, the other one was successful in their suicide attempt.
yeah.
So this has definitely hit home with me and I feel very, very important to talk about.
And one of the things that always strikes me about suicide is there's so many people that say, we had no idea.
Absolutely.
We did not know. There were no signs.
Right. And signs, well, we can always think of the depressed person. And I should mention another reason for emphasizing this topic, particularly on the first program, is that depression is one of the 3 top health problems in Plymouth County, of which Kingston is a part.
Sure.
There was a survey that was done by Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital, as well as the Massachusetts Department of Public Health. Depression is a very serious, important issue in this area. And we always, you were talking about, we always think of people who are depressed, who are withdrawn, and that's certainly the case. But there are also people that I don't understand. They looked great yesterday.
Right. I
What's
just had a
the
talk with
matter?
them. They were fine.
So we all have to be aware of the people around us
Right.
and what they're going through,
Yeah.
and be more involved and ask the important questions. Before we get into the question, I do want to emphasize the fact that I talked about suicide as being a national epidemic. It is. There are approximately 440,000 people in this country who commit suicide every year. 121 people a day
that's
in
crazy.
this country
Yeah.
commit suicide. Massachusetts, fortunately, is third from the bottom
Good.
as far as rates of suicide in this country. However, it has been stipulated by the Centers for Disease Control that between the years of 1999 and 2016, suicides in Massachusetts have gone up a third. So it is definitely an issue in this state, and we can't say that it isn't.
Right.
You know, I have spoken with officials in the town. It is not a major issue here at the moment, but not to say that it can't be.
Right.
And again, depression is a major issue.
Sure.
So we need to put this on the table and put it out front.
So it's almost like if you see something, say something. It's getting that whole mindset. So the first thing was the question. To question the individual, you could literally say to someone, are you thinking of killing yourself?
Absolutely. It's important. We're now at a point in time where you have to be direct.
Right. Not
you
even
have to be
thinking of
direct.
hurting yourself or,
Yeah,
you're not
no.
thinking of
Are you
doing anything
thinking
dumb,
of
are
killing
you?
yourself?
Right, so it's the direct question.
Right.
Are you thinking of killing yourself?
And we've all heard about CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, but now it's called QPR, which stands for question, persuade, and refer. So question, do you feel like you're going to kill yourself? Persuade, so encouraging the person not to commit suicide and to seek help.
Right.
And that you will help them
Seek help.
seek help.
Right, right.
And that not taking using a permanent solution for a temporary problem.
Right.
You might feel like this now, but
Right.
that's not to say you're always going to
feel this
like
way,
this.
right.
And getting the person the help that they need.
Right, and we're going to put a whole bunch of referral services up on the screen, including the National Sewage Prevention Hotline,
Samaritan Statewide here.
Yep.
The Trevor Helpline, which is specific for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth and young adults.
Yep.
And then you can always go online for emergency services programs and their providers. Just Google XL.
Yep.
XEL.
Okay, and you also always can dial 911.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really important to know if you're with someone and you've asked the question, are you thinking about killing yourself? And they say yes, and you don't have time to go Google who you should call, you pick up your phone and you say, I'm going to get some help here. And you call 911 and have them
and stay with that person.
And stay with that person, right.
Yeah, do not leave them.
Right. Excellent advice. Thank you, and I'm glad you brought that up. And the final thing we're going to talk about is September is Emergency Preparedness Month. And boy, this country has been through a lot of natural disasters. I mean, the wildfires in California, the flooding. The hurricanes. It's crazy. And people, you know, I can handle it. If my lights go out, I can handle it. It's so much more than if my lights go out.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
let's talk about what a really well-prepared family goes through for emergency preparedness.
Absolutely, and I have to say, for better or for worse, I am a semi-expert on this because I lived on the Gulf Coast for close to half of my life. I've been through multiple hurricanes down there, including Hurricane Katrina. And I have been involved with a number of nor'easters up here in New England, having been born here and having lived in Kingston for 12 years. So I've definitely done my share of preparing for emergency disasters.
So what is the checklist that we should go over?
I would say, obviously, first and foremost, you can go to the American Red Cross site and they will give you all of this information, but I'm going to be reviewing some key points with you. I would strongly encourage every family to sit down and talk about how to prepare a hurricane and to make lists.
Okay.
Because at the time when you're being asked to potentially evacuate,
Right.
that there's an emergency happening,
Yep.
You can get very unsettled and unfocused, and
Yep.
it's important that you pretty much have your ducks in a row and know what you're going to do.
So let's go through the property checklist. Remove outside furniture, toys, canoes, etc.
Right.
Put low furniture on cinder blocks.
On
so
cinder
it's
blocks,
not
we
on the
did
ground.
that. Get everything that's low-lying up off the floor that
Right.
could be potentially damaged.
Damaging. Yep.
Make sure that you have sufficient gas in your car.
Yep.
That you have money,
Yep.
because ATMs
Right.
may not be running.
Yep.
So go to the grocery store. Batteries, candles,
Flashlights.
all that type of thing.
Blankets.
So you're taking care of outside of your house,
Yep.
getting everything out of the yard,
Yep.
batching down the
hatches. Yep.
hatches.
Yep.
Then you want to have a disaster kit in your house.
Yep.
Put it in a plastic box. This is all of your important papers
Yep.
that you may have to evacuate with, from the title to your house, birth certificates,
Yep.
marriage license, all of that. Medications, a list of medications that you take, the medications themselves,
Yep.
eyeglasses, any health histories that you want to have. It's also important that you have blankets and water
Yep.
readily accessible,
Yep.
that you have clothes packed for at least a couple of days if you have to evacuate.
Yep. Keep your cell phone charged too.
Absolutely.
Because
Keep your
I know
cell phone
in all the
charged.
previous hurricanes and everything else where we've lost our power, literally people stay connected to the internet and through Facebook and things like that through their cell phones.
Right.
Because they didn't have any power for their computers.
Exactly.
And evacuating, you need to have a plan in place. You need to know a local route of how to get out.
How to get out.
And how to meet your other family members, because if you're all at 4 different places and
Right.
something hits, where do you meet?
Where
right?
do you escape? Yes. And
Yeah.
where are you going to go? Do you have a family member out of state?
Yep.
Do you have a hotel that you can go to? So have that all in order before anything like this would ever happen. What are you going to do with your pet?
Yep.
You're bringing the pet.
Oh.
Are you finding shelter for the pet?
Right.
All of this is very important. Also wanted to mention in that plastic box, you want to put financial information.
Yep.
Any bills that you might have that say that you have a house, because you may have to be applying for some kind of benefits
Yep.
through FEMA or whatever, and it helps to have that kind of information
Right,
available.
right. And the good thing is nowadays we have a pretty good indication days in advance if something really bad is going to hit our area.
We do.
We're very lucky.
We are. We're
Yeah.
but also that it's important that we realize that more often than not, it's important to evacuate.
Right.
Because you are going to be potentially without water, without plumbing,
Right.
electricity, heat.
The whole thing.
And you're also so you may be jeopardizing your health, that of your family members.
Yep.
And also, if you've got first responders who are going to have to come in and get you off your property, you are putting them potentially in
sure.
harm's way.
Excellent points all. Thank you. Our time is up. We've gone so far. So today's first episode of Healthy Kingston, we covered 3 major topics. We covered why you're doing this, number 1. We talked about children and their nutrition and their sleep habits and their exercise. We talked about suicide prevention and how very important it is to arm yourself with information about how you can help. And then we talked about emergency preparedness. And all of this is available on multiple websites. And you're also going to have a part of your website in the Town of Kingston. You're going to end up mirroring whatever we
to
cover
Healthy
here.
Kingston.
You're going to have a Healthy
and
Kingston
we're
part.
going to have it on local social media, also the newspaper.
Great.
And so you'll be seeing a lot of Healthy Kingston in the months to
And
come.
that's wonderful. So thank you so much, Dr. Janet Wade, for creating this show. We've loved to
you,
have you here,
Julie.
and we look forward to future episodes.
Thank you. I'm
Thank you.
excited. Take care.